Newlyweds Bruce and Jenna Simpson are celebrating their honeymoon in one of the most beautiful places on Earth, Botswana's Okavango Delta. They want a real wildlife experience, and the best way to do that is by taking a ride on a mokoro, a small canoe that can get them close to the action. Wildlife is everywhere, and it seems the tour is a success. But on their way back to camp, something massive gets in their way.
So we stopped and we waited for them for a while. And in fact, the guide banged his pole on the mokoro a few times to try and make some noise, try and get them to move off.
But the elephants don't budge. So the Simpsons look for another route.
And we were looking for another channel to basically cut across this waterway to get back to the camp.
The new path is barely wide enough to squeeze through. Then, something explodes out of the water.
All I saw as I turned was a grey mass to my right, literally half a metre away from me.
Adult hippos can weigh more than 2,500 kilos and can run faster than humans. And they are far from friendly. Monstrous males battle each other relentlessly for dominance among the herd.
Basically, the girth of its chest was as wide as the section that Jan and I were sitting one behind the other. So it had almost that impact sound of when you have a car accident. And then the next thing I was under the water. I couldn't see anything.
Bruce flails for the surface, but something is holding him underwater. Dislocates Bruce's shoulder and traps him beneath the surface.
The force of it pushed me right down into the mud. I knew the water was only just above my head. I was at risk of drowning.
But Bruce isn't giving up that easily.
The first thing, I looked for my wife. I couldn't see her. She wasn't there. The mokoro wasn't there. She was nowhere to be seen.
His heart hammers in his chest as he searches frantically for his new bride. What he finds chills him to the core.
I rushed over and I turned her over. And she had been bitten through the chest, in the front and through the back. And she was just losing blood so quickly.
Jan's body was ravaged by 2 pairs of deadly tusks. They grow continuously, and they're perfectly placed to sharpen with every bite. But these sabers aren't used for eating. They're for fighting other hippos. Battles between competing males are long, bloody, and often end in death. In Africa, these monstrous mammals attack and kill more humans than any other animal. But usually they're grazers that only eat meat when food is scarce. Just 1 week later, another cantankerous creature rocks the Okavango. Former Miss South Africa, Diana Tilden-Davis, is in the Delta filming a documentary. She spent years working here as a guide and considers these waters her home. The crew needs one more shot before they wrap for the day. And that's all the director's thinking about as he pilots the boat. He has no idea what's lurking in the placid waters. Then, without warning, a lone hippo charges. Adrenaline surges through Diana. She strikes the beast with her pole and screams for the crew to scatter. The hippo rams her boat. Diana is tossed. Then it lunges even closer, gnashing its tusks inches from her flesh. She's putting up a good fight, but against a 2-ton animal, even her best fight may not be good enough. 2 hippo attacks just days apart in the same African paradise. Something triggered this devastating rage. Why were both of these herd animals alone?
He was definitely trying to hide. Because he was quite big and it was quite shallow, he had made a little sort of wallow in the sand to get completely under the water.
The hippo must have been submerged and crouching in the water. So the water couldn't have been deeper than a couple more feet where the hippo was hiding. There's no ways it could have been there unless it was crouching.
Diana remembers another gruesome detail.
When he came for us, his mouth was open. Lots of cuts and gashes in his mouth. His ear had been chewed on and his face was all scarred and open. They were all fresh wounds.
Only another hippo could have inflicted this type of punishment. It's been relatively dry in the Okavango this season, forcing the hippos into close quarters.
I couldn't even begin to count them. It was one of the things that staggered me was the density of the hippo population.
Higher concentrations trigger more fighting, and more fighting means more hippos on edge, ready to strike. Diana spent 2 years in rehab, but she doesn't hold a grudge.
I've seen the hippo twice since the incident. He was going through just as a traumatic time as I've been through. So our bond, I think, has grown from that.
Bruce Simpson hopes to return to the hippos one day.
One of my goals is to be able to go back and get as much pleasure as I did before out of spending time watching hippos and photographing them. In many respects, I feel like I have a link with them now.
We've just got a shitload of everything.
Yeah, shitload of beats everybody.